So when we say rates of change, it occurs in many different world applications and phenomena. So one of them is here, timely, very timely, because you would like to know the rate of change and the number of COVID-19 cases each period of time. And economists also would be interested on the production cost, okay, on the changes of the production cost. Also, a rider would be interested on the changes of its speed. A truck would be interested in the rate at which the volume of gasoline changes, and a statistician might be interested in how the population of a certain city changes with time. So these are just basically the changes that would calculus talk about. Okay, we call it as rates of change. So when we say rates of change, we are involving equations, we're involving functions with respect to time and others. Okay, here suppose f is a function of y and y is equal to f of x. Now the average rates of change of y is simply the change of f, or that could be the change of y over the change of x, or delta f or delta y. Other books make use of change of y. Well, that is just the same. Now in the interval x sub 0 to x, this x sub 0 would mean the initial and x would be the final. Okay, so you're just as if doing or finding the slope here. Okay, you're finding for the slope. Now the instantaneous rates of change of y with respect to x at x is equal to x sub 0 is simply, so kapag sinabi nating instantaneous rate of change, ang hinahanap na natin dito is the derivative. Okay? This one is for the derivative. However, when we are looking for the average rates of change, we are just substituting that value x in the interval. So kunwari, from 2 to 4, then sinasubstitute nyo lang yung x that is equal to 2 and 4. Okay, ito na yung x here. And gagamitin mo yung original function, f. But for derivative, you are now involving the derivative of x, and that will now be the instantaneous rate of change, derivative of function f. So graphically speaking, the average rate of change of y with respect to x here is the slope. Yun na yung sinasabi natin, slope kanina. Now the derivative of that function f will be the instantaneous rate of change. So take note of that. Derivative is for the instantaneous rate of change. Now, on some of the interpretations, if the derivative is greater than 1, then greater than 0, I mean, will be directly proportional, or direct relationship is happening. They both increase and they both decrease. But when that is less than 0, so magkaiba naman, one increases, the other decreases. While when that is equal to 0, then does not change with respect to x. So let's say here, a right circular cylinder has a fixed height of 7 units. We're going to find the instantaneous rate of change of its volume with respect to the radius of its base. Now determine the rate of change from this particular values of the radius, and you're going to find the rate of change on the interval 1 to 3 and 4 to 7 for the radius. Let's have number 1. Now here you're going to have a function with respect to the radius, so you have v of r. Okay, papalitan natin ng age, ng height, and that is actually given, which is 7 units. So substituting that will give us 7 pi r squared. Now we know that pi is a constant, so gagawin natin dito using the power rule to get the derivative. Now 2 times 7 is now 14, so we have 14 pi r, and that will be the derivative of the volume with respect to the radius. Now this means that for every unit change in the radius, magkakaroon tayo ng 14 pi r changes, cubic units, in the volume. Okay, that is how we understand. Now the rates of change will be solved at the particular radius using now the derivative. So we have v prime of 2, substituting radius, that is 2, so we have 28 pi cubic units. 5, substituting that will give us 70 pi cubic units, and 7 times 14 will give us 98 cubic units. 98 pi cubic units. So for instantaneous rate of change, you're going to use or to get the derivative of the given function. But when it comes to getting the average rate of change of the volume on the interval given, ang gagamitin natin is the function v itself. So ito mismo ang gagamitin natin. Substituting that interval from 1 to 3, sabi niya, so mauuna ang final 3 and the initial 1. So v of 3 minus v of 1 divided by 3 minus 1, just following the formula that is initially provided here. So dito sa formula kasi, ang mangyayari, yung final ang mauuna mong isusulat. Okay, x here being the final and x sub 0 being the initial. So what happened on this case. So just do the evaluation of function. Okay, now substitute mo lang yan. So you have 3 here, have 1 here, and 3 minus 1 is 2. Now doing all the process, get the quotient will now give you 28 pi cubic units in average. Okay, now on the second, you have 7 and 4. Substituting that, 7 minus 4 it gives you 3 here. So 7 pi times 33 divided by 3. 33 and 3 divisible by 3, that's 11. 7 times 11 is 77. 77 pi cubic units in average. Okay, so that is how we got the solution for instantaneous, that is getting the derivative, and the solution for the average rate, it's itself getting the average from the initial and final. Okay, just like how we solve for the slope. The next question here is, suppose the cost in pesos of manufacturing X liters of a certain solution is given by C of X is equal to 20 plus 5x minus 2x squared plus x cubed. Now we're going to find the instantaneous rate of change of the cost. Okay, now instantaneous rate of change when the cost of liters is 2, 4, and 5. Okay, when the number of liters is 2, 4, and 5, and C, the average rate of change of the volume on the interval of X. You see that interval from 2 to 4 and then 3 to 6. Now, the rate of change is simply the instantaneous rate of change, or the rate of change is simply the derivative of the given function C. Now, gagamitin natin dito is the power rule. Now, in the power rule, okay, you're just going, the derivative of 20 is actually 0, 5x, it's 5, negative 2x squared is 2 times negative 2 is negative 4x, and here x cubed will give us 3x squared. So yan na ang gagamitin natin in getting the rate of change at any given x liters. Now for letter B, gagamitin natin ang function na to, 5 minus 4x plus 3x squared. Okay, so we have c prime of x is equal to 5 minus 4x plus 3x squared will be the function you're going to use in getting the instantaneous rate of change at any given x liters. So kapag x is equal to 2, substituting that will give you 9 pesos. 4, just do the substitution. So 5 minus 16 plus 48 will give you 37, and 5 will give you 60. Now for letter C, the average rate of change of the volume of on the interval, ang gagamitin mo naman dito ay yung mismong function C. Okay, so we have C of x is equal to 20 plus 5x minus 2x squared plus x cubed. Now substituting that and get the average, so we have from 2 to 4, sabi niya mauuna ang 4, 2, so 4 minus 2 is 2. Now do the process, simplify, will give you 72 minus 30 is equal to 2, because here, okay, 20 plus 20 is 40. Okay, 16 plus 2 times 2 will give you 32. So that's already negative 8 plus 16. 4 cube will give you 16 times 4 will, yeah, that is 64. Okay, so that is 20 plus 20 is 40. 40 minus 32 is 8. 8 plus 64 is 72. So minus 30 divided by 2 will give you 21 pesos, and that's the average expense or rate of change. Now here, C of 6 minus C of 3 divided by 6 minus 3. Simply just do the process and substituting to the original function C of x. Okay? At bibigyan kayo ng 50 pesos. We also involve a study of bacteria. Okay? So here, a bactericide was introduced to a nutrient broth in which bacteria were growing. The bacterium population continued to grow for some time, but then stopped growing and began to decline. So here you can see the may pagbabago, no? It declines, it grows, it slows down. So let's see. The size of the population at time t hours was given in this function. Okay, so that's raised to 6. Take note, this 10 raised to 6, 10 raised to 4, 10 cubed. Naka-exponential form lang yan or scientific notation because the numbers are large, but that is also accepted. Okay, now determine the growth rate. The growth rate would mean the instantaneous rate of change. Just get the derivative of function p here, and that will give you the derivative of 10 raised to 6, okay, is 0. Derivative of this is 0. 10 raised to 4t is 10 raised to 4, that is constant multiple theorem, and 2 times 10 cubed will give you 2000 because 10 cubed is actually 1000 times 2 is 2000. Now get operation subtraction. They have 10,000 minus 2000t. Now that function will be used in going to get the growth rate at that particular time, 0, 5, and 9. And let's see, p prime of 0 is 10,000 because this will now be 0. P prime of 5 is 0. P prime of 9 is negative. So anong ibig sabihin yan? Kasi nagkaroon tayo ng positive, we have 0, and we have negative. As discussed earlier, kapag ang derivative mo at any given input is greater than 0, so ibig sabihin, from 0 to 5, there is an increase. Okay, there is an increase because that is greater than 0. Now, from 5, pag yan equals to 5, it suddenly stops. So, nothing, walang nagbago. So, no changes at all. Now, p prime of t is less than 0 when you have 5. At least 5. So, that is 5 greater than 5. Okay, this shows that the bacterium population was increasing, okay, until time that is equal to 5 kasi yan wala nang pagbago. Then it stopped growing and began to decline when you move to more than 5 hours. Next, we have a ladder 25 feet long rest against a vertical wall. Let theta be the angle between the top of the ladder and the wall, and let x be the distance from the bottom of the ladder to the wall. If the bottom of the ladder slides away from the wall, how fast does x change with respect to that angle theta when theta is equal to pi over 4? Okay, here, ibig sabihin daw nito, pag nag-slide ito far from the wall, gaano daw kabilis yun? Okay, now since theta with in relationship to x is the opposite of that theta, therefore we're going to use sine because sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so how long is that ladder? It's 25 feet. So we have this equation, sine theta is equal to x over 25. So x is equal to 25 times sine theta will be the equation with respect to x, equation for x with respect to the angle theta. Therefore, we're going to get the derivative of that x with respect to theta. We have dx over d theta. Okay, do not be confused when you have dy over dx. dy over dx is getting the derivative of y with respect to x. So that if you have dx over d theta, then you are getting the derivative of x with respect to that angle theta. Okay, so yung nasa denominator, ang tawag natin dyan is the independent variable kasi ginagamit mo siya to get the value of the dependent variable. So here, x acts as the dependent variable. Therefore, at theta that is equal to pi over 4, we now have derivative that is 25 cosine theta. Take note that the derivative of sine theta is cosine theta. So, napalitan lang yan into cosine theta, and you have 25 being the constant. Now, change theta into pi over 4. So, you have 25 times cosine pi over 4, where pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. So, 25 times square root of 2 over 2 is 25 square root of 2 over 2. And that is feet over radian. So, ganyan kabilis yung pag-move ng ladder away from the wall.